Oh, okay, and both of you, if this man, if YouTube is not working, I asked her, she said she was like, YouTube is not working. Okay. It was 6:30 when it was 6:30 when we were coming for lunch. She reached out to me, she found back on Instagram. It was not live. It, okay, so, okay, you don't have to go through all, it's there, you don't have to go through all. And I'm gonna give you what you really see.
All right, sir. On that video that was just played, and I paused this video at the 5-minute and 54-second mark. Did you see, while you were watching, did you see a person in some jeans and a black shirt, with like a white logo on the front walking the door?
Yeah.
Okay, and that person, do you recall, have you ever, before this day, have you ever seen that person?
No, yeah, so.
Now, I can't, we have no audio of this video, right? So I gotta ask you, it appears that you might be, you're at least looking at the direction, it appears that your lips might be moving. Did you ever have a conversation with this guy at this point right here, right before I paused it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, you don't think so?
I don't remember. I agree, like, I agree people, though, so I probably spoke to them later.
So you're not sure? If
I'm not sure, no, I agree with everybody.
Okay,
I'm not sure, though, if I agree with them.
do you recall whether he said anything to you?
No,
Okay.
I can't remember.
All right, so, and just for the record, since I paused this, do you see yourself in this video, this particular frame that I paused it on?
Yes.
And again, you're the only gentleman in front of the red shirt, is that correct? Can you play it? All right. I paused the video on the 6-minute and 12-second mark. So do you see yourself in this video right now?
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
Walking out.
Why did you start walking outside at that point? Do you recall?
Can't remember.
You can't remember. Now, it appears that there's some people that you identified in this video. One person you identified as what was it, was it Malachi or Malaysia?
Yeah.
Okay. With the burgundy shorts, okay? It also appears that the person you said looks like somebody you've known for a year, Q, is also in this picture. Just before you started walking on, you were right next to him. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, it appears that there's some kind of conflict going on, okay? Did you hear any words that were said by the person you said looks like Q prior to you running out of the store?
Did I hear any word?
Yeah, what did Q say before you ran out of the store?
I don't know. It looked like we were saying a lot of stuff. I don't know.
I'm not asking what it looked like you were saying, I'm asking what you remember being said.
I don't remember nothing being said from this incident. Nothing. I don't remember nothing at all.
So you don't remember any of the words that were said during this incident in the liquor store, what you're saying?
Yes, I don't remember nothing I was saying.
At any point, while you were, and I think, I'm gonna stop sharing right now, Judge.
Okay.
And if I may inquire, I think it's relevant to, if he spent time with the defendant earlier in the day and saw a handgun, I think it might be relevant for me to inquire about that, Judge, may I? I know you ruled on that issue already, but I was just thinking I was gonna ask him if he saw the handgun, it might be relevant if he saw it earlier in the day.
Mr. Jones, do you go by any other name?
Yeah,
What's your other name?
Smitty.
All right, so were you with, the defendant or with Q earlier in the day?
No,
Did you ever see him with a handgun earlier that day?
no, I didn't see him earlier today.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Now, after you saw the last portion of the video that we played there, you said that you were heading towards the doors. What happens right after that, if you recall?
What, I walked outside?
Did you? You said, what did you do after that?
I went outside. I really can't remember. I think I got in my truck. I really don't remember.
Well, did you stay at the liquor store for some time, or did you leave?
I think I pulled off.
And you all who you pulled off with?
Malaysia. Yeah, I pulled off Malaysia.
Now, it appeared that there was something that prompted you to turn around and run, sir. And I understand you're saying that you don't recall, okay? I just played a video for you, and you identified yourself and other people in that video. And I'm asking you again, if you recall, what happened, what you either saw or heard or both that prompted you to exit the store that day?
I can't remember.
Sir, I'd like you said that there was this person named Q, you've known for a year, he looks like someone in the video, okay? I'm gonna ask that you look around and see if there's anyone in the courtroom that you remember from seeing that particular day. Okay, you said the defendant here? And who is that defendant? That's the person that you said that you've known for a year, that's Q?
I mean, I don't know.
And I know this is it a yes? Yeah. Now, I know this is, I'm gonna ask that you point to the person you're saying is the defendant, okay? And tell me where they're seated and describe to me what clothes they're wearing.
You sitting across from me with a drink?
Okay, can you, Judge, would that be sufficient to have the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant?
Oh, yeah, he's the only one here in green, so the record will identify the identification of Mr. John.
Okay, and if I can have 1 second, just consult my notes.
Sure.
So, subsequent to the date of this, from what you recall from the incident at the liquor store, have you had any contact with the person you know and have identified as Q?
Since the day of the liquor store?
Yep.
No, I don't remember seeing him until now.
Do you ever recall having any conversation with him about what happened here?
No.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Jones, On the day that you were in the liquor store, you indicated that you were with your friend who came with you named Elijah, correct?
Yeah.
And you identified another individual wearing blue jeans, William Morris. I think you identified him as Will.
Yeah, well,
Okay, you know Will pretty well, don't you?
no, really, I ain't know him long either.
Okay, how long would you say you know him for?
I can't say, I haven't known him.
6 months, a year?
Yeah, well, I understand,
Okay, but you guys didn't come up there together, did you?
no,
You just happened to be there, just happened to pull up at the same time?
yeah,
The clear blue, he pulls up in his blue Escalade and you pull up to your truck.
I don't know what he put up in.
But he pulls up,
Yeah, I saw him downstairs.
okay, but before showing up at the liquor store, you guys weren't even together, correct?
No.
And so you and Elijah pull up at the store to get some liquor,
Yeah,
okay? And you go into the liquor store, you see Will and Q greet each other, right?
Yeah.
Because you haven't seen them in a while, I'm sure, because you didn't know them very long, correct?
Right.
And giving them hugs, and then the next thing you know, you saw in the video, you're turning your back from everyone and running out the door. That's your testimony?
yeah,
Is there a reason why you didn't say goodbye?
no.
Well, you saw the video, did you say goodbye to anyone, or you just turned around and left, didn't you?
Just left out.
Okay, and when you started to go out the door, did you hear any gunshots?
I didn't hear nothing.
Nothing at all. And when you got into your truck, did you and Elijah talk to each other?
I can't remember.
Well, did he get in your truck?
Yeah, well, I just got my truck.
How long after did he get in your truck when you got in the truck?
I can't remember. I don't even know if I got in my truck first or.
Or you really don't remember that?
No, I really don't.
And you really don't want to be here today, do you? I have nothing further.
All right, thank you. Any remarks?
None.
All right, thank you, Mr. Don, you're pretty well.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I'm checking out.
All right, thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any additional witnesses on behalf of the people?
None at this point.
Any witnesses on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Folsom.
Judge, with that, the people would move to find the defendant over on all the charges listed in the complaint in warrant. Unless the court would like argument, we would reserve that for a while.
Thank you. Mr. Sharp.
Of course, thanks, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. The court, first received a stipulation, by stipulation, People's Exhibit Number 1, which was a medical examiner's report authored by Dr. Hudson. It was performed on July 19th, 2020 on Austin Cole. Dr. Hudson performed an autopsy on Mr. Cole and concluded that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head and the manner of death was a homicide. Mr. Cole was identified by his mother, Tanisha Cole. The court also received People's Number 2 by stipulation, which was a video file which contained a surveillance video and also some screenshots. The court received People's Exhibits 3 through 15, which were photographs of the screenshots from the surveillance video. And the court also received, by way of stipulation by the parties, information that Mr. Littlejohn had previously been convicted of a felony and had not restored his right to possess a firearm on the date in question. And People 17, which was admitted, was a use of immunity petition in order for Mr. William Morris regarding his observation and testimony that occurred on July 18th of 2020. Court heard from William Morris. He testified that in the evening hours of July 18th of last year, he went to a liquor store on 7 Mile. It was dark outside. He went with others. He was with his cousin Malachi. He was with Q, and he was with Smitty. Malachi's last name is Barnes. He said that Q and him are friends and have been friends for years, and he has known Smitty for years as well. He said he drove his Cadillac Escalade to the store with Q. The other people, that being Malachi and Smitty, were in their own vehicles. He identified the defendant, Mr. Littlejohn, as being the Q that rode with him in his vehicle. And people 4, Mr. Morris identified himself in the photograph. And in People's 6, Mr. Morris identified Mr. Littlejohn in the photograph. Mr. Morris testified that he did not see the defendant armed with a weapon at any point in the day on July 18th. He said he went in the store and he left out at some point to speak with his girlfriend. He said that he left the store after he saw Smitty come out and heard a noise that he described could have been a firecracker or a shot. He only heard one sound that caused him to leave the area. He went back to his vehicle, he locked the doors, and he started his vehicle. He said the defendant, Mr. Littlejohn, came out to his door. He allowed him to come in, and he dropped Mr. Littlejohn off to his car. He said that earlier in the day, Q, Malachi, and himself were at a family get-together. He left there to go to the liquor store with the gentlemen that were seen on the video. He said that after he left in the vehicle with the defendant, he asked him what happened, and that defendant never indicated what happened. The court observed the video where Mr. Morris identified himself. He also identified the defendant, Mr. Littlejohn, as well as Smitty, also known as Mr. Darian Jones, and Malachi. In that video, the court observed Q, the defendant, at the register, at the counter, making a purchase. The court observes an individual with a black shirt, white logo on the front of his shirt enter. It appeared that there were some words said between Mr. Littlejohn's party and that individual. And the court is also able to observe the individual with the black shirt and white logo come over and cut kind of in front or reach across Mr. Littlejohn, at which point the court is able to observe Mr. Littlejohn pull a handgun, put it to the head of the person who has the black shirt on with the white logo. And the court is also able to observe Mr. Malachi trying to grab the defendant, Mr. Littlejohn. At some point, the individual with the black shirt falls to the ground, and Mr. Littlejohn goes to the counter, grabs his things, and cavalierly walks out of the liquor store without any haste, and just walks out. Court also heard from Darian Jones, who had a selective memory about the incidents that occurred on July 18th. Does, however, remember going to a liquor store on 7 Mile in the city of Detroit. He identified himself as People's 4. He says Malaysia, which is another pronunciation of one of the individuals that was there, has been his friend since middle school. He's only known Will for a short period of time, and he's only known the defendant for a short period of time. He identified Mr. Littlejohn in court. He identified him in the video. Mr. Littlejohn is charged in count 1 with homicide, murder, first degree, premeditated. The court believes that the people have met their burden in proving by probable cause standard that he did in fact deliberately and with intent intent to kill and with premeditation, kill and murder one Austin Cole. And count 2, weapons, firearms, possession by felon, with the stipulation by both parties that Mr. Littlejohn had previously been convicted of a felony and had not restored his right to possess a firearm. The court is satisfied by probable cause standards that he did in fact possess or use or carry a firearm when ineligible to do so because he had been convicted and had not restored his right to possess a firearm. He will be bound over on count 2. At count 3, weapons carrying concealed, the court is satisfied that Mr. Littlejohn did carry a dangerous weapon, to wit a pistol, concealed on or about his person and a motor vehicle on the day in question. At counts 4 and 5, the court is satisfied that the people met their burden by a probable cause standard of proving that the weapon was in fact used when Mr. Cole was murdered and that the defendant had that weapon being a felon. So he will be bound over on all 5 charges containing any information. His arraignment will be a week from today, which is January 19th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Go down.
Oh, I told him to bring the bills up. It was in the
Okay,
question.
you're in. Sorry.
One item. Mr. Bone, are you ready?
There you go. Give you-
Thank you, Judge.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. See you, start.
Well, that's what I need. Chris, what you got in there? Lavender, peppermint, and orange. I was sleepy, that's why I asked. How you doing today, Yana? Hmm? I'll let them know, one second. Okay.
All right, thank you, you too.
Come down.
You all ready?
Look, look at
I
that.
don't want to pass the message. I'll let you go ahead and put your coat off. Okay. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. Who you talking to? You sit down.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, we had an agreement.
I saw about it. You know, Your Honor, I was just doing CCW cases upstairs. I come down here and get all the business, huh?
Way too much.
Okay. Come on. Come on. Go through this door.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is the people of the state of Michigan versus Lawrence Mills, case number 20F56808. He's charged in count one with homicide, murder, first degree premeditated. May I have your appearances, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ashley Chaffone on behalf of the people, P75922.
All right, you're gonna have to speak louder, Mr. Phone.
Ashley Chaffone on behalf of the people, P75922.
Thank you, hold on, I'm gonna turn up the volume. Sorry, Mr. Phone, I've tried to turn it up, but just a second, I'm gonna disconnect again and see if I can get our camera working.
Okay.
And can you use the volume, that, what about that other mic? I mean, that other one. Oh, can you speak now, Mr. Phone?
Yep, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, that's much better, thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Good afternoon, James Anderson, P31302, on behalf of Mr. Mills. We're ready to proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mr. Mills, state your name for the record.
Lawrence Paul Mills III.
All right, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
All right, so today's the date and time set for continued preliminary examination. Any preliminary matters, Mr. Paul?
At this time, I'd make a motion to sequester all witnesses. I'd ask for an exception for my officer in charge who's seated in the courtroom, Detective James Krzyzewski.
No objection.
Thank you. All witnesses will be sequestered. There will be an exception for Detective Krzyzewski. You can call your first witness, Mr. Paul.
Thank you. At this time, the people would call Detective Eric Kimball.
You're welcome. Detective Kimball, if you can step forward, please. And raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide will be the truth?
Affirm.
All right. You can have a seat right in that chair. There's going to be a microphone to the right of you. You can grab it and place it in your lap. We need you to speak loudly and clearly so that we can all hear you. And you may proceed, Mr. Funk.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us your name?
My name is Detective Eric Kimball, shield number D1421,
And where are you employed?
City of Detroit Police Department.
And where were you assigned back in December of 2017?
I was assigned to the homicide section at that time.
Now, as part of your duties in the homicide section, as part of your duties as a detective, have you been trained in video extraction?
Yes, I have
Go ahead.
at the University of Indiana at the continuing education section, both with over 80 hours of training of practical, written, and hands-on video forensic extraction and evaluation.
And did you successfully complete all training programs?
Yes, I have.
And how many videos, surveillance videos and other type of videos, would you say that you've extracted in your career?
More than 500.
Okay. And did you use those same procedures that you have on other occasions here in this situation back in December of 2017?
Yes, I continue to use the same process that I learned in the training that I received.
Okay. Now, I want to take you back to December the 13th of 2017. Do you recall if you were working on that date?
Yes, I was working that day, working with the Southwest Squad of Homicide Section. We were called to a location in Southwest Detroit. I can't remember the exact address, but I do have it on my report that I authored a particular day if you need it.
And would 5635 West Fort sound like the right address to you?
It would be, yes.
Okay. And is that,
Mr. Funk,
what did you ask, Judge? I'm sorry, it cut out.
can you repeat the address?
5635 West Fort.
Thank you.
Is that in the city of Detroit, Detective Kimball?
It is.
Is that the county of Wayne?
It is.
And you had indicated that this was, or you were called out with the crew that handles Southwest Detroit, is that correct?
That's correct.
And is this Fort Street address, is that in the city of Southwest Detroit, or is that in Southwest Detroit?
It is considered, yes, the Southwest side of Detroit.
And what was your purpose in going to that location, if you recall?
I was called by the officer in charge to see if the video system the cameras that were attached to that particular address were recording any video from that day and the day prior to when we discovered, when the body was discovered on the street behind that location, just south of that location.
And did you in fact extract, or did you in fact determine whether or not there was any video at that location to extract?
Yes, there was a video that was recorded to their DVR system. I was able to review it and download segments from those angles that were relevant to this investigation.
Okay. And what date and period of time did you focus on as being relevant with regards to the investigation?
Okay, if I can read that report, I can tell you exactly what date that was.
Please do so if that will refresh your recollection.
It will, and it does. Yes, I recall that particular date was December 13th, 2017.
And was there a period of time in which you were focusing?
Yes, I was focused between hours of midnight and 3 a.m.
Okay. Now, when you went to that location and you determined that there was video that would have been relevant, did you do anything to determine whether or not the date and time on that video was accurate with regards to the actual date and time?
Yes, I take a calibration of the timestamp that's on the video recording system that's on screen and in the system. And I contrast that to the Naval Observatory's timestamp that's on a cell phone, like a department cell phone back then. So yes, and I determined, according to my report that I authored, that when I took the calibration of time on the date of 12/13/2017 at 9:12 a.m., it coincided with that timestamp, and it was accurate to the time, the exact time of the same date of December 13th, 2017 at 9:12 a.m. So the times coincided.
Thank you. Now, how many camera angles did you actually extract video from, if you recall?
I have to refer to my report again, but I believe I extracted 3 different camera angles.
Okay. And
like that.
I'm sorry, Detective Kimball, I think I cut you off.
Yeah, the report does reflect I extracted 3 different camera angles.
Okay. And can you tell us the names or the numbers of those camera angles specifically?
Yes, the camera angles were labeled. They didn't have a particular number on them, but the system administrator or whoever controlled it labeled the cameras that I extracted as follows. The first camera was titled South Alleyway West of Exterior. The second camera angle was titled East Parking Lot South of Exterior. And the third camera angle was titled South Alley West of Exterior. Oh, I have to make a notation. I apologize, I didn't read a little further in my report. There was a 4th camera angle here, and I apologize, I didn't see it initially. The 4th camera angle was titled East Patient Lot South of Exterior. And for notation, I do have a typo in there. It says patient lit south of exterior. That should be patient lot south of exterior.
Thank you. And as part of conducting a video extraction of those camera angles, did you also have an opportunity to review those camera angles?
Yes, I did. Prior to extracting anything, I reviewed these camera angles for a period of time that the facility allowed me to, and they allowed me, while they were open, I was able to review those camera angles extensively and make a determination that there was activity between the times that I was reviewing it, and that coincided with this investigation.
Okay. Now, in addition to extracting and then reviewing this video, did you ever have an occasion to clip down or edit down to a more narrow time frame any of this video?
Yes,
Okay. And have you reviewed that video prior to today's date?
only back, closer to the days of the initial investigation. After that particular point in time, I surrendered all of the information to the officer in charge, my findings, and what was focused in at that particular point. But just back at the time of the initial investigation and maybe a couple of days following, but I can't say as I have reviewed it since that time.
Okay. Now, when you reviewed it back closer to the time of the actual homicide, do you recall if the shorter video clips that you made fairly and accurately depicted kind of a summary of what the relevant portions of the longer video would be?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
And Judge, based off of that and kind of the remote way in which we're doing this, I would ask the court to allow me just to pull the video up on the screen, authenticate it with Detective Kimball, and then seek admission at that time if it is, in fact, the video that he recalls.
All right, no problem. Do you have any objection to that, Mr. Anderson?
No, I don't. I would have some questions after that, though.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Chacon.
Thank you, Judge. And I would be putting up, just for reference purposes, People's Proposed Exhibit number 2 first. And Detective Kimball, are you able to see a video up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and I have that video paused right now at 1 second. But do you recognize the area in which is being depicted there?
Yes, I do. This is a camera angle taken from the address, from the 4th Street address. This is a camera attached to the building, focusing southwest of that particular building. So this is the alleyway from my perspective at this point. From the bottom of the screen, there's an alleyway, then there's a fence that separates a parking lot, and then a fence to the top end of the screen that separates the street from the residential area. And that is a camera angle that I saw at the time of the extraction and at the time that I went to the scene.
Okay, and does that fairly and accurately, and it does fairly, or based off of what you just stated, this fairly and accurately depicts what you saw the night that you extracted that video?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And Judge, based off of that testimony, I would ask, or I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit number 2 into evidence.
All right, Mr. Anderson, do you have some questions you'd like to ask before it's admission?
I don't think that's the one I have the questions of.
Okay. Do you have any objection to People's Proposed Exhibit number 2 being admitted?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you. The court will receive People's number 2, which is the
Thank you.
video report.
Thank you. And if the court would allow, it's a 14-minute and 45-second video. I want to admit all of this video, all 14 minutes and 45 seconds of the video clip. However, if the court would allow, there's only a small section at the beginning and then some sections that I'd like to draw the court to. So if the court would allow, I would just like to play some portions of it and not run it for the entire almost 15 minutes.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. Now, Detective Kimball, I'm going to jump a bit ahead to 3 minutes and 35 seconds in this clip. And I'm going to play it at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to let it play for a bit, and then I'm going to pause it again. Are you able to see it, Detective Kimball?
Yes, I am.
Now, Detective Kimball, I'm pausing it at 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Did you just see a vehicle on the screen?
Yes, I did. I saw it, which, again, once I went to the scene and I was able to understand the camera angle here and what's on the screen, that particular vehicle was moving from west to east. It stopped at the intersecting street and then turned southbound on that intersecting street, continuing south.
And was that relevant to you with regards to this investigation at all?
It appeared to be relevant to me because it was in the time frame that I was looking at, and this was part of the data that the DVR had given to me. I requested a particular amount of time, and the DVR gives me a chunk of data inside that time frame. So this was part of that data.
Now, Detective Kimball, if I'm looking at this camera angle from the view that everyone is seeing it at, fair to say there's a parking lot in the center, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then there's a street that's just beyond that. Do you see that as well?
Yes, I do see that. There's two intersecting streets. One that's going from the left of the screen towards the upper right of the screen. That will be your east-west street. And then there's
what that street is, Detective Kimball?
I did note this street. I have to look at my notes again for that. Let me see if I have it.
If not, I can show you a map after. So if you have it, great. If not, don't worry about it. I can come back to that.
I would have to have you remind me of that street.
Okay. Don't worry about it now. I'm gonna jump forward a bit in the video to 8 minutes and 42 seconds. And I'm gonna let the video play from this point to till the end of the video. I'm playing from 8 minutes and 36 seconds till the video's ended. Now I'm pausing it at 10 minutes and 4 seconds, and I'm not sure if you're able to see from where you're sitting, Detective Kimball, but did you see what looked to be come out of a window?
Yes, I was able to see that also. I did see that the vehicle goes south and then turn east onto that side street, and the lights went out, and I did see, well, from this angle, it was a little tough to see that spark of light, but I did see something in a distance from the screen.
Did you do anything with that information once you made those observations?
Yes, I made two phone calls. I made one to my supervisor and advised him what I saw, and I called the evidence tech unit to come out and look for a particular piece of evidence. And I went out to that particular area myself and to see if I can locate what I had suspected at the time to be a cigarette coming out of a window, a lit cigarette coming out of a window in the snow.
Now, when you personally went to that area, did you make any observations of anything that was consistent with what you believed you saw?
Yes, there was a lone cigarette that had been partially consumed in the snow, almost in the middle of the street.
Okay. Now,
Embedded,
go ahead.
embedded in the snow.
Okay. I'm going to continue playing this video for the next 4 minutes. Now, Judge, if the court would allow, and I'm going to pause it at 11 minutes and 17 seconds. If the court would allow, I could put this on like a fast forward function. I just kind of get us through the next 3 minutes because there is a second video. And I don't believe putting it on fast forward will inhibit the court seeing anything.
No objection.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. All right, I'm playing at 11 minutes and 19 seconds. I'm going to speed it up a bit more. Now the video has ended. Detective Kimball, did you have occasion to make another video clip as well?
Yes,
Okay. And is it fair to say that the second video clip is a continuation of what we just watched?
yes, it is.
Okay. And have you viewed that prior to today's date?
Only near the time of the initial investigation, but not recently, not in recent days.
Back at the time that you viewed it, did it fairly and accurately depict the video, a summary of the longer version of the video that you condensed down?
Yes.
Okay. And Judge, at this time, if the court would allow, I'd like to put that portion of the video on the screen and ask Detective Kimball if he recognizes it. And then I would be asking the court for its submission.
You may.
Thank you. Detective Kimball, do you see a video up on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and for the record, this is People's Proposed Exhibit number 3. And is this the area in which we just saw in People's Admitted Exhibit number 2? The same area?
It is, it's the same frame.
Okay. And do you recognize this as being the second part of what we just watched in People's 2?
It's yes.
Okay. And Judge, at this time, I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit number 3.
Any objection, Ms. Anderson?
No objection.
All right, People's 3 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Permission to publish that to the court as well.
You may.
Thank you.
Mr. Vaughn, am I supposed to be saying something?
Judge, I lost my post-it. I think it's at like, I couldn't remember if it was at 242 or 342 that I wanted to kind of make note of. So I didn't want to go past it. This video is not very long though. There's only 6 more minutes left. So can we just hold on for 1 second? I'm sorry. It's just the same kind of area where Detective Kimball had directed us before. Yep, here it is. Sorry, it was 420. Sorry. Judge, if the court would like, I could pause now and stop playing the video. Its entirety is admitted.
Thank you.
Review. Now, Detective Kimball, are you familiar with that area of Detroit?
Yes,
Okay, and if you saw a map, do you think that you would recognize that area?
yes, absolutely.
In Detective Kimball, I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit number 8. Judge, could I have permission to publish that to Detective Kimball to see if he recognizes that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself?
Could I permission to publish just the People's Proposed Exhibit 8 to Detective Kimball to see if he recognizes the map?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Detective Kimball, do you recognize what's being shown in People's Proposed Exhibit number 8? I'm sorry, oh boy, sorry. Detective Kimball, do you see, or do you recognize what's being shown in People's Proposed Exhibit number 8?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize that area?
Yes, I do. This is a Google map of the area in Southwest Detroit, off the corner of, I think, intersection of Junction and 4th Street. And there's a red pin map. There's a red pin on the map that says the CHASS Center. That is the location where we were extracting the video from, with the address on 4th Street, which with the camera angle that we were looking at prior to this, pointing towards the south to that residential neighborhood and that parking lot that was in between the center and the residential street.
Judge, at this time, I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit number 8 into evidence.
No objection.
People's 8 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Now, Detective Kimball, looking at this map, can you tell us, you were able to observe a vehicle in that People's Exhibits number 2 and 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
In what, if you know, what street would that have been down that we saw that vehicle kind of parked and kind of driving back and forth on at one point?
That would have been a street called Athens.
Okay.
And
And, oh, go ahead.
And it is also marked on the map as an east-west street paralleling 4th Street, south of 4th Street, first block south of 4th Street.
Thank you. Now, Detective Kimball, I also want to show you People's Proposed Exhibit number 4, if the court would allow. It's a still from the surveillance video on 4th Street.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Detective Kimball, do you recognize what's being shown in People's Exhibit number 4, Proposed Exhibit 4?
Yes, that's a still photo of the surveillance video that we had just reviewed here in court. It depicts the same scene south of the center, the parking lot, and a vehicle with its headlamps on facing eastbound on Athens Street.
And for the record, or Judge, at this time, I would ask the court to admit People's Proposed Exhibit number 4 into evidence.
Mr. Anderson, any objection?
No objection.
It's admitted.
Thank you, Judge. And I believe at this time, I have no other questions for Detective Kimball.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Anderson.
Detective Kimball, I just have a few questions revolving around the People's Exhibits 2 and 3, the video that you have extracted. I just want to be clear. You indicated that you edited some of the video, I guess, because there was nothing there that was noteworthy.
No, I edited the video to focus in on the particular time that we were looking for and the particular time that I had saw the flicker of light that I had noted earlier, and went out to the scene and noted that there was a burn or partially consumed cigarette in the street where I had saw on the video and eventually had located and had the evidence text pull out of the snow in about the middle of the street.
Thank you. We just saw the video, I think that was on proposed or exhibit number 3, the continuation of the video where the car was speeding back and forth on Athens Street.
On Athens, it had set for a period of time on that particular street, and what I saw was that the vehicle, after it was parked for a period of time, the tail lamps came on, the vehicle proceeded east on Athens with its lights out, and appeared to be the same vehicle because it came back westbound on Athens Street with its headlamps off again. It stopped at the corner of the intersection of, I believe it's the street is Campbell. And an individual exiting that vehicle that didn't have its headlamps on at that particular time of night or morning. And the individual, and it was one individual that I saw, leave that vehicle into the shaded area or the darkened area of the screen. And then the individual coming back to the driver's side of that vehicle eventually, and the vehicle eventually continuing westbound on Athens, crossing that particular intersection that we saw in the video.
My question is more about the timeline. For example, does your video show how long that car was sitting there with its lights on? Are you able to tell how long that car was sitting there?
Yes, at the time that I was reviewing it, we did indicate that that vehicle was sitting there for, I believe, more than 20 minutes.
Well, to get more to the point, did you ever go back on the video to the point where you saw that car drive to that spot?
Yes,
And from the video that we have, can you determine, if I was to look at that video, is there a way that I can determine in real time how long that vehicle was sitting there? And this question goes also as to how long time elapsed from the time the vehicle went down one street and then appeared back again and go back the other way.
yes, there's a way you can, one, you can time it yourself. You can take a stopwatch and time it. There is,
Well, let me interrupt you right there. So is that to say that although the video that we watched, it's sped up, there's a way that you can look on the video to see what the actual elapsed time was in that sequence?
there wasn't a way to look on the video as you, if I'm answering your question correctly, sir, to look on that video, because there's not a time stamp on that particular video.
Okay.
But from the time frame that I took to the time frame that was extracted to me, yes, you can, technically, you can go back and figure out the algorithm that shows from what particular point in time to, or how much time had elapsed on that video. It can be done.
So if I want to know, I saw the car going westbound on Athens Street, I would be able to tell, let's say that it took that 5 minutes elapsed before it came back down eastward on that street.
Yes, because that, yes, you should be able to.
Yeah.
I'm not technically savvy with this particular video to know what algorithm I need to explain that, because my expertise is just as an extraction, not the determination on the algorithm on how the video was stored or kept on the system.
So it would be fair to say then, at this point as we are here right now, you cannot tell us how much time went by from the time, let's say, that cigarette was dropped to the time that the vehicle appeared again on the scene, other than the fact that it was between that block of hour or two time that you focused on.
That would be a correct statement. I can tell you accurately
Okay.
when that cigarette dropped and when the vehicle came back. I cannot tell you, but I can, with definitive answer, tell you that I did pull a particular block of time.
Yeah.
And in that particular block of time, that's when these events occurred.
Okay. And what you just mentioned also holds true for that period of time. Again, I hope I'm not repeating myself. From the time the car went down one way, down Athens Street, then came back the other way.
Yes, I don't have that specific information, but again, for that particular block of time, this is what the system was able to give me, and not time prior or time after. It gave me this narrow window of time.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further, Judge.
All right, any redirect?
No, not for people.
Thank you, Detective Campbell. Your next witness, Ms. Chafon,
Actually, Judge, can I ask Detective Kimball one question?
go ahead.
Because I might be able to avoid our next witness potentially. Detective Kimball, were you present at the point in time where the evidence technician placed the cigarette butt on evidence?
Yes, I was. I pointed out exactly where the cigarette butt was located in the street. I called the evidence tech out to the scene. I waited for them to arrive, and I saw them extract that particular cigarette butt and put it in the envelope for tagging and processing. Yes, I was there until completion.
Are you aware of whether or not that item had an evidence tag number or an item number?
I am aware that it does have a tag number, although I'm not familiar with the tag number at this point. So,
Okay. Would looking at the evidence technician report for forensic technician Sharon Thompson refresh your recollection as to the item number of the cigarette butt?
I'm sure it would, yes.
And Detective Krzyzewski, do you happen to have on you Technician Thompson's report?
I do.
And Judge, would the court allow Detective Kimball to review that report to see if his memory is refreshed with regards to the item number of the cigarette butt?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm ready.
All right, you can, hand that to.
Detective Kimball, can you take a look at that report with regards to the cigarette butt and let me know if your memory is refreshed as to the item number?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what was can you give us the evidence tag number?
Okay, the evidence tag number and item number are as follows: 1712130047, item 9.
And what was on item 9?
A Marlboro cigarette butt.
Okay, and do you recall exactly where that Marlboro cigarette butt was located?
Yes, it was in the middle of the street on Athens Street.
Okay. I have no. Go ahead.
Approximately 53 feet east of the edge of Campbell and approximately 14 feet south of the north edge of Anthon on placard, based on placard 1.
Thank you. I have no other questions. But
Just one question, the name of that evidence tag?
Yes, the evidence tag again,
You know, the name of the person, the evidence technician?
Thompson,
Thompson. Thank you.
Sharon Thompson.
Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Detective Campbell.
thank you. And Judge, I do have forensic technician Sharon Thompson in the hallway. So if Mr. Anderson would like him or would like her, I could call her. Otherwise, the people are prepared to move on to the next witness.
All right. Do you have, any questions for forensic technician or evidence technician Thompson?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
All right, you can continue, Mr. Pump.
Thank you, Judge. May I allow my officer in charge to release her then?
Yes.
Okay. The only other witness that people have at this time is Detective James Krzyzewski. And if the court would allow my plan with Detective Krzyzewski, and if Mr. Anderson was okay with it, I just plan to call him, ask him the preliminary questions, and then admit the video but not play it. The interview video.
Would that be the remainder of the video that we started watching the other day, yesterday?
It would just be the video in its entirety, pretty much.
Certainly.
Video, we just,
The relevant portions. I wouldn't play the last segment, but I could if the court wants me to play the last part today. I could.
are you talking about the video that we just saw? The
interview video that Detective Krzyzewski reviewed, or that he testified to, I'm sorry, that we viewed yesterday.
Of my client.
Okay, the interrogation video.
Yes.
Okay, so you just want to admit the interrogation video.
Yep, I was going to call Detective Krzyzewski, put him on, ask him kind of the preliminary questions about the advice of rights, etc. Allow Mr. Anderson to obviously voir dire him, and then I was just going to admit the video and not play it.
All right, Mr. Anderson, will you stipulate to, since we just did this yesterday, would you stipulate to the constitutional rights, well,
Well, yes, I will stipulate to it, because I believe I've already questioned him about whether or not the rights were given one time, and after the rights were given, there was statements made by my client allegedly indicating activity in all of the different cases charged. So
All right,
it would
so,
be redundant, in my opinion.
I agree. So that has been admitted in his prior case as what, Ms. Stephane?
It was admitted, yep, in the prior case, and I can give that number if the court would like. It was admitted in case number,
No, not the case number, what exhibit number?
oh, the exhibit number. In this case, it would be People's Exhibit number 1. It was an admitted exhibit in his other case as People's Exhibit 1.
People's one, all right, so there's a stipulation between the parties that People's Exhibit number 1, which consisted of audio and video from the Detroit Detention Center, where Sergeant Malone or Lieutenant Malone and Detective Krzyzewski interviewed the defendant, Mr. Lawrence Mills, and that video lasted for what, an hour and 30 minutes?
I think it was like an hour and 19, just under an hour and a half, yes.
All right. So that will be admitted with no objection from Mr. Anderson at this time.
Thank you, Judge.
Again, Judge, I just wanted to make it clear that I believe a portion of that was admitted the other day. It's the same video, and that I have no objection to the remainder of that, which I have reviewed previously being entered.
All right, so the remainder. So the court watched about an hour of it, and then the remainder was probably another 19 minutes. The whole exhibit was admitted. The section that the court did not listen to involved a case, the AWIM case that Mr. Mills was charged and bound over on. And I think Ms. Stephane indicated there was some additional conversation about some other things towards the end of the video. Is that correct, Ms. Stephane?
That's correct. They go back a bit to some of the other cases, but the sum and substance of what is discussed even in the last 19 minutes is consistent with what's already been discussed. There's no kind of new additional information for the cases, the 2 homicide cases.
All right, thank you. People's one is admitted. Any additional evidence or witnesses?
So people have no additional witnesses. I do have some additional exhibits.
You may proceed.
People's proposed exhibits number 5 and 6, which are lab reports under MCL 766.11B. I just want to make sure, Judge, I didn't miss Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson, object to that?
Well, other than you asked for admission, I don't know what it is.
It's the 2 lab reports in people's proposed exhibits number 5 and 6.
That report's indicating what? Is it DNA? Is it? I don't know what it is.
Previously, they're both regarding the DNA.
All right, so why don't you tell us what was recovered, what was analyzed, and what date, so that since you don't have it to hand to him, just make a record.
Would the court like me to put it up on the screen too?
No, just read it.
Okay. I'm reading from people's proposed exhibit number 5, which is a Michigan State Police Lab Report, authored by Lynn, Lynne, Helton, Helton, forensic scientist in the biology unit at Michigan State Police. She authored record number 1. Received, or it says date received, was April 23rd, 2018. And the date completed was April 24th, 2018. I would ask for admission at this time, and I can read in the relevant findings.
All right, Mr. Anderson, do you have that document?
No, I don't. I mean, I have it, but I didn't bring it with me.
Okay, are you familiar with the document?
Somewhat.
Okay. Do you have an objection to admission of record number 1 authored by Lynn?
Record number 3, Judge.
Record number 3.
I do not at this time.
All right, exhibit, this is exhibit number 5, people's proposed exhibit number 5.
Correct.
All right, it's admitted at this time. You can read the relevant information into the record.
Thank you, Judge. The results were, Ms. Helton's results were that there was a search of CODIS database resulted in an association between item MD 17-7265-2AD, a cigarette butt cutting. An evidence profile was entered from laboratory number MD 17-6528. There was a forensic match to an evidence item on MD 17-6528-4AD, which was a victim's ankle swab. Those were the relevant portions of People's Admitted Exhibit 5.
All right, thank you.
And the next exhibit would be People's Proposed Exhibit number 6, which is also a Michigan State Police Lab Report. It's record number 10, and it was authored by Andrea Halverson, Halvorson Young, forensic scientist in the biology unit at Michigan State Police. She received items for testing on April 22nd, 2020, and she completed, the date completed was April 23rd of 2020. And at this time, I'd move for admission of this report and to be able to read the relevant findings.
Any objections, Mr. Anderson?
Again, I don't know exactly what it is. I don't have a copy with me.
Do you want a copy?
Just review it, refresh what it is.
And I just want to make sure for the record that Mr. Anderson does acknowledge that he has received these reports. He may just not have them like physically in front of him.
Oh, I'll acknowledge that, because I do have them, but I'm unable to
Can you put it on the screen?
identify
Mr.
what it
Wong?
is.
Yep, I can definitely put it on the screen, Judge. Let me get it pulled up. And Judge, on the screen is record number 10, which is People's Proposed Exhibit number 6. I'm going to zoom out of it. Are you able to see that, Mr. Anderson?
I do, if you could zoom in a little.
Yep.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Good.
This time I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 6.
No objection.
All right, people's 6 will be admitted.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to point out the relevant pieces of evidence that Miss Andrea Halverson Young analyzed. That would have been item 2AD, a cigarette butt cutting, as well as the water bottle under 7A. And I'm going to go down to page 2. And I want to point out under the verbal scale, it indicates that this analysis provides very strong support that Lawrence Mills is a contributor to the DNA profile developed from the cigarette butt cutting. And just reading in the qualitative equivalent, it indicates that Sorry, Judge. And I'm not sure I'm gonna leave the qualitative portion of this out. Judge. I would ask the court to receive Exhibit 6 as such.
No objection.
All right, court will receive People's Exhibit number 6.
Thank you, Judge. And the last remaining exhibit that the people have would be People's Proposed Exhibit number 7, which is the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Report. And I'd be requesting admission under MCL 766.11B.
No objection.
All right, court will receive People's number 7, the medical examiner's report.
Thank you, Judge. And reading from the relevant portions of People's admitted exhibit number 7, the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Postmortem Report, authored by Assistant Medical Examiner Avnish Gupta, AVNEESHGUPTA. He performed a postmortem examination on the body of a Miss Carol Ann White on December 14th of 2017. It was his opinion that the death was caused by multiple injuries. The decedent was found unresponsive on the side of the road with tire tracks leading to where she was found. Autopsy revealed multiple injuries, including post-mortem abrasions and contusions throughout the body, a broken nose, multiply fractured ribs, separation of the left lung from the hilum, multiple lung lacerations, rib lacerations, aortic lacerations, and a depressed skull fracture with lacerations of the underlying brain. There was evidence of perimortem, postmortem injuries, superficial abrasions on the abdomen, and a large laceration on the left thigh with lack of vital reaction. The manner of death is accident. At this point, Judge, if the court would like to see, it is included with the exhibit. There is a body diagram indicating the injuries that the victim sustained.
What was the last name of the medical examiner again?
Gupta, Gupta.
And the date of the autopsy?
It was performed on December 14th, 2017.
Thank you.
And the victim was pronounced dead on December 13th of 2017.
Thank you. People 7 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. And then there would just be one additional item. It was a stipulation that Mr. Anderson and I spoke about at the probable cause conference, which would have been the identification of the victim. Mr. Anderson, are you still willing to stipulate to the identification?
So we'll stipulate to that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Then, Judge, at this time, we have one additional stipulation, which would be that the individual found deceased at Anthon and Campbell would have been the deceased victim in this case, a Carol Ann White, and she would have been identified as such.
By whom?
By, I'm sorry, Judge, let me grab that. Sorry, Judge, let me just grab that name really quickly. Sorry, Judge, I have one more place to look for it. I thought I had it out. And that would have been a Miss, I'm sorry, a Miss Rose Graves, Graves. And that would have been the daughter of the victim.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sorry for the delay. At this time, the people have no additional, let me just double check, witnesses, evidence, or stipulations. And I would make a motion to bind the defendant over as, and if Mr. Anderson has none, I'd make a motion to bind the defendant over as charged in the complaint and warrant. I would reserve any additional, or I would reserve any argument for rebuttal.
Thank you. Any witnesses, Mr. Anderson?
Your Honor, I have no witnesses. And I would argue that this matter is a question of fact for jury.
All right, thank you.
So real quick, we're going to-
All right, given the video evidence retrieved by Detective Kimball, in addition to the physical evidence that was recovered from the location of Anson and Campbell, which consisted of a cigarette butt cutting, along with the statement provided by Mr. Mills and the DNA evidence analyzed by the lab, the Michigan Department of State Police Forensic Science Unit, the court believes that there is a question of fact for a trier of fact, and Mr. Mills will be bound over on count one of the information that he did deliberately with intent to kill and with premeditation, kill and murder one Carol Ann White. The court is also taking into consideration the medical examiner's report authored by Dr. Gupta, which describes the injuries, the multiple injuries that Ms. White sustained and the manner of death being an accident. Mr. Mills will be bound over to the Third Circuit Court for arraignment on the information. His arraignment date is going to be a week from today, which is January 19th at 9 a.m.
Your Honor, as to all three different trials, I'd ask for referrals of pretrial services.
All right, the court will request this defendant screening unit's reports on each of Mr. Mills' case. Oh, I'm sorry, the other files have already been transferred over. The only one I can request one on is the Ernest reports today.
Usually they would most likely include them anyway as pending cases.
Was the AOI on the other cases for the 18th or for the 19th? For some reason, I had it down for the 18th or for the 19th yesterday as well.
I have the 19th.
It's the 19th. We're, the
Okay, so
court
all three are going to be on the 19th.
No, I'll bring them down. I'll take the paperwork down.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I don't trust you. I'm gonna make a move on it. Wow, it was your time.